Welcome back to our second video on lesson 2.1, rational numbers. And as long as that last video was a little bit over 12 minutes, this one will be quite a bit shorter. We're going to get through this awfully quickly. Now remember, I do talk fast. So sometimes you need to just stop and watch and listen. And then pause the video to write in your notes after you see the completed example. And then if you need to, after you've written it, back up your video just a tiny bit. Watch and listen one more time, whatever it takes, okay? You need to seek out understanding, even if it takes a little bit longer. 45 solid minutes. So let's get through this one real quickly. We spent the last one where we wrote fractions as decimals. Now we're going to write our decimals as fractions and or mixed numbers, making them simple. Our first one is negative 0.7. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you know how to say that in standard form, then you're saying not only the decimal, you're also saying the fraction at the same time. So if I say negative 7/10, that means I can write that as negative 7/10. Recognize the decimal place tells you what power of 10 you need to put in the denominator. This is one decimal place. That's 1 power of 10. That's 1. And of course we have the negative. Now this cannot be simplified at all. This is 100% simplified. We're done. Negative 7/10, writing that decimal as a fraction. Now we have 0.125. It's a little bit more difficult to say, but if you can, it makes it easy. That is 125 thousandths. So I would put 125 over 1,000. Notice it has 3 decimal places. That's 3 powers of 10. That's 10 to the third, which is 10 times 10 times 10, or 1,000. Most people say, hey, just put the number of zeros equal to the number of decimal places. Yes, that is true, but understand why that is true. You also need to understand the math, not just know the tricks. All right? But 125 over 1,000 can be simplified. I'm quickly going to divide by 25, and that's 5 over, let's see, 25 goes into 40. Well, I recognize that that can also be simplified. By dividing by 5, I get 1/8. So 125 thousandths written as a fraction is 1/8. Moving right along. We have negative 3.1. So notice, this is to the left of the decimal, negative 3. That means it is a whole number. So that means it goes before the fraction bar. It is the whole number. And now you're just looking at the decimal, 0.1 or 1/10, to write that down as your mixed number. Makes it very simple. So negative 3 and 1/10 is negative 3 and 1/10 as a fraction, mixed number. Continuing on, negative 10 and 25 hundredths. So we can again take that negative 10 and put that right in front of our fraction bar. And we can put the 25 over 100. That's 2 decimal places. That's 2 powers of 10. That is 100. And then we recognize that 25 over 100 can be simplified, and we would write the final answer by dividing by 25, by the way. That is like dividing by a fraction equivalent to 1, because 25 over 25 is 1. So we're not changing the value. We're just rewriting it, renaming it to have the same value, and that would be 1/4. All right? So negative 10 and 1/4. Continuing right along, once again, we said we were going to be able to order them. And so when we're ordering rational numbers, you need to know it's easiest to convert them either all to decimals or all to fractions. Now, most people can compare decimals much quicker than they can compare fractions. So I would make a high recommendation that when you are given rational numbers to order and they give you both fractions and decimals, that you convert them all to decimals. Much easier to compare when you do it that way. Well, first, I'm going to kind of guesstimate. I'm going to use this number line and kind of guesstimate. So I've got, I'm going to just do it in different colors. So we'll stay with that color, negative 5/9. I know it's negative, so it's to the other side of 0. I know it's not -1 yet. And I know that -5 over 9 is not quite a half. So I'm going to go somewhere right here, and I'm going to call this -5/9. All right? Choose another color, and I'm going to take -1 3/4. That means I come back all the way -1 and go 3/4 more. That's more than a half. And I'm going to put it about right there, and I'm going to say -1 3/4. All right. I'm going to use another color. Let's go purple. Purple for my -1 625 thousandths. Well, 0.6 is more than 1/2, but 0.6 might be less than 3/4. I'm gonna guess it to be right here, and I'm gonna go -1.625 for that one. And then lastly, this -0.6. I know that's more than a half, so I know that goes right here, -0.6. So the number line can help me. And now, when that number line, or we don't have one, we want to follow what it says. Convert them all. And I don't care. Go fraction if you want to. But again, it's not as easy to compare. I'm going to go all to decimal. So when I take 5 and I divide that by 9, I get 0.05 repeating. And when I take a -1 3/4, I get -1.75. And then I've got -1 625 and -0.6. So now I can definitely see that the -1 3/4 is the smallest number if I'm going from least to greatest. So -1 3/4. Make sure when you're writing your final answer that you use the original form. Don't write this decimal that you convert it to. Write the original form. And so we've used that one. The next one would be the -1.625 or -1 625 thousandths. So we've used that one. And then we would have -0.6. And lastly, we would have -5/9. So those are the same order that we found when we used our number line. So you can use the number line to help. If you don't have one, you better convert. And the easiest thing to convert to is decimals. Ladies and gentlemen, that ends our video for today. You just need to write these 5 numbers down so that you can put them in order to least to greatest. While you're copying those, please remember to listen, to write down questions. Come to class with questions tomorrow about the rational numbers. Begin working on your assignment. Again, quality effort for 45 minutes. Be accountable for what you're supposed to do. Come to class ready to roll with something done. Be aggressive. Use some urgency. Not too fast, though. You don't want to make mistakes just because you're going too fast. But you do want to push yourself to concentrate and go a little quicker. Use your time effectively. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, come to class with questions. You are amazing. You are uniquely special. You can do all of this challenging work if you put your mind to it. I know you can. I believe in you. You would not have been placed in this class if you could not. I will